Hello, it's Doug Cunnington here, and we're going to look at some informational keywords today. I may even ask for ideas from the live audience here, and we can look together. We'll have a quick look at there's a tool I use called KWFinder, which does a pretty good job from a keyword research standpoint. Of course, there are many tools, and I don't care which one you use. We'll also use Google to just kind of look at some of those keywords, and that's a free way to do it. So let me know in the chat if you can hear me. Welcome. I appreciate the folks that already hit the thumbs up. I did it myself. You can like your own video. And if I don't like it, then I who can I get upset at? So thanks, folks, for hopping in here. We have Daniel. We have Amre. What's up? Good to see you as well. And thanks, everybody, for hopping on. Hopefully, we'll have a nice little crowd today. Couple quick announcements as we're warming up. So many people will watch the replay later, and I love it that you watch the replay. I know it may not be a convenient time wherever you're at, and most people do watch the replay. So thanks a lot for doing that. Couple quick things. Number one, my course is open for enrollment. It's called Multi-Profit Site. It teaches you how to create a site from scratch, from like idea generation and niche selection, competition analysis, setting up your site, writing the content, publishing the content, doing outreach and promotion for your site. And that's sort of the basic package. There's a more advanced package that has a few more units, selling your site, what to do when you're stuck, email marketing, and I think there's one other, but I can't remember off the top of my head. So check that out. It's open for enrollment this week. So October 14th, which is Friday. It closes for enrollment at 11:55 p.m. Mountain Time. So there's a little timer on there. I know everyone's in different time zones. You could have a look over there. There are a couple bonuses too. It's listed out on the sales page, but we're going to go over content today. I'm not going to try and sell the course the whole time. So you can get a little bit more information about a couple bonuses that are available. One of them has a deadline at today, Tuesday, at 3. So you have a few hours. You can have a look. It's actually a pretty good bonus. I audit your site and review it. So you can take a look, see what's going on if you are interested in the course. Additionally, we have a couple sponsors. Ezoic, they have a product Leap. It helps your site load faster and helps you get green in Core Web Vitals. Ezoic doesn't have any page view minimum, so you can join up and start using products like Leap and plus a handful of others. We also have Otis, which I'll give them a few minutes later because my voice will actually need a rest. So cool. Those are the quick announcements. And Shah is on. What's going on? Haven't seen you in a while. We have Fruit Bat as well, and Dilip from India, and we have L Couch on as well. So we will be doing some keyword research today, and I'll talk a little bit about just informational keywords and why they're important. There has been, I feel like, a bit of a resurgence and more popularity and talk about sites that have display ads that have primarily informational keywords. Some people are just publishing only informational keywords. I wouldn't say it's a mistake, but you can publish affiliate review content and be okay as well. Some people are very scared of potential Google updates and that sort of thing. It's kind of interesting. I've been doing this for a little while, started in 2013, and some of the material I was studying was kind of old, but there was a huge amount of interest in niche sites that were monetized with AdSense. And since then, there are more display opportunities. There are display ad networks and software companies like Ezoic that help you display ads and get higher revenue. There's more sophisticated bidding models, and the cookies have, matured and all that stuff. All that to say, I think there is a resurgence in interest in informational content, low competition keywords. So it's very popular right now. And I think, the ideal situation is what I try to do in multi-profit site. And that is, you find a niche where there are some products that you can promote. Hopefully those products are physical and digital. Digital products usually have a higher commission rate, which is nice because you can get paid a lot more for selling, fewer number of products, and a lot of informational content, a lot of informational keywords, which is what we're going to look for today. So if anyone has a niche that you want me to look at a little bit, let me know and we can kind of dive into it. I have one in mind, so I'll probably start running with that. But if you have a suggestion in there, we can take a look. So with the informational content, kind of the ideal situation is where it's kind of unlimited. And I've mentioned this in some live streams in the past, where basically if you find the right niche or the right sort of idea, you may not run out of you may not ever run out of keywords. There's, certainly a finite number of them, but you may be in a spot where you're never going to publish whatever the 10,000 keywords that are out there. And a lot of times these are sort of formulaic. So one example that I've heard several times is like, can like a certain animal eat a certain piece of food, right? So think pets. People are like, can dogs eat blueberries? Turns out blueberries aren't great for dogs, so don't give those to your dogs. But you can fill in different pets, right? So you have dogs and cats and lizards, snakes, rats, chinchillas, ferrets. There's a lot of other birds. There's a lot of different kind of birds. I don't know anything about birds that you can keep in cages, but the point is you can come up with some sort of formula, and then you have a set of, say, 35 different very common pets, and then you have like a list of foods over here, right? So you can pair up like this list of 500 different foods, and can ferrets eat burritos? Can ferrets eat chicken burritos? Maybe a bad example, but you kind of get the idea. So if you can come up with something like that, you're never really going to run out of keywords. And those potentially could be fairly easy to write. They don't have to be very long. And I don't have a ferret and I don't know much about him, but my guess is you probably should not feed them burritos. It's my hunch. Maybe it depends on the kind of burrito. And if you were really creative, maybe you could make something that looked like a burrito, but it was made up of things that ferrets can eat. So we're going in a weird direction here already, but essentially, you can come up with these niches and keyword ideas where you're never going to run out of keywords. And there's a couple guitars sitting behind me. I mean, you can look at that sort of idea and transfer it over to a completely different niche. So even if we don't cover something that makes sense for you today specifically, you should be able to think about your niche and then translate it over there. So like with guitars, you can look at like specific guitar models, of which there are, many hundreds, probably maybe even thousands, but at least many hundreds of very common guitar models. And you could look at like string combinations that people may be curious about. And then there's hardware and stuff on there, like the tuners. There's the bridge and the saddle and the nut, which may be something that people are interested in. And then there's pickups and electronics and amplifiers. And again, as you're piecing together some of these ideas, you have maybe like a list of products and a list of uses and maybe a type of user. and you can mix and match. You end up with a situation where you can create a lot of different combinations, and you can cover each one of those. It's kind of a different way to look at some of these things. So, all right. If you have some questions, you could throw them in here. I will probably answer a few, opening up here, and then we'll try to be on topic and hit the demo. But I'm flexible, so if people don't give a shit about doing keyword research, I can just answer your questions. So we'll see how it goes. All right. Matt asked this: would you go in with Ezoic or wait for 50,000 page views for Mediavine? I heard a lot of problems with Ezoic, so you're hesitant to orient your time with Ezoic, or better orient the time to get content to 50,000. Daniel says this: what problems have you heard with Ezoic? Yeah. So number one, Ezoic literally sponsors these, so I mean, keep that in mind. But I haven't heard of any issues with Ezoic, and I mean, many thousands of people use Ezoic, so I don't think there's any issues. I would say there's no harm in signing up with Ezoic, and if you're happy with it, you don't even necessarily need to switch to Mediavine. I think there's sort of a false narrative or sense that you should switch networks as you get more traffic. So everyone's mileage may vary, but I would say go ahead and get on Ezoic. Like, you could be earning like hundreds or thousands of dollars per month in the meantime. And if you're happy with how Ezoic is working, then like I said, there may not be a reason for you to switch. So, but it's totally up to you whether or not you want to sign up. So yeah, definitely have a look at it. There's no harm in it. All right, Dan says, what's up? I'm seeing some crazy behavior on one of my sites. Anyone else? I think Google is confused or has conflicting algorithms hitting my site. For example, right as the core update was rolling out, I saw a huge surge in traffic. Then the product review update came out and whacked me, but only listicle content. Wonder if I have any insights. What could be going on? I don't have any insights. No. And so this is one of the ideas that I had around some of these algorithm updates, which won't necessarily help you, Dan, but this is one interpretation that I have. If you seem to be impacted by algorithm updates often, and you go up and down and up and down, and different updates are impacting you, I don't know why, number one, but it seems like that specific site probably has some piece of the algorithm components that is right on the threshold. It is right on the thumb screw that Google is adjusting as they roll out an update, as they tweak the update, and as other updates come out. That is the thing that they're adjusting. So I don't know what you do with that information, but I'm perhaps stating the obvious, but I haven't heard anyone else say it in that way. Like, you're on the threshold of whatever it is they're adjusting, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if you would be able to even interpret or figure out or analyze and see what it might be. It's probably a series of things, but I don't know. I haven't heard anything else from anyone else. I did hear from a couple people that were impacted by one of the updates, maybe a couple months ago. Their sites are like fully recovered or very close to fully recovered as of about 2 weeks ago, the very end of September. All right, DP says, I found a niche, but there are only a handful of questions. 99% of the queries are or have buyer intent. What to do? Please suggest. I've checked with many paid tools, but no help for creating info content. Okay, cool. So basically, there's a couple routes. So this is on topic. So we will Oh, hold on. I'm gonna come to that. But first, so Matt said, I haven't heard one story, not just one story. And Matt also says that Ezoic demands you buy additional paid plugins to make it work. Sounds like a pass. So Matt, I don't know where you're getting your information from. So if you were hanging out in Mediavine forums or Facebook groups, then you may be getting stories like this. As far as I know, Ezoic doesn't demand you pay for any plugins. That sounds like someone's lied to you. And as far as I could tell, often, especially with using a tool like Leap, they kind of encourage you to not use paid plugins that duplicate functionality that Leap takes care of. So they also identify plugins that slow your site down, many of which are paid. So I don't know where you got your information, but it sounds mostly false to me. So I would say, you could check in with whoever told you the stories, and maybe they can give you some supporting evidence to back up whatever it is they're saying. Otherwise, you may want to just question where you're getting the information and the incentives that the people have for the stories that they're telling. Do they get anything out of it? Are they affiliates for Mediavine, for example? Like I said, Ezoic advertises here. So I have an incentive to try to bring you good information. But I think if you stick around here, like I usually just tell it like it is as much as possible. Okay. So DP says you found a niche, but there's only a handful of questions. 99% of the queries have buyer intent. What to do? Please suggest. So number one, it does sound like you have done a lot of research. And one area that I would look for is not just questions, but how to. So if you're just looking for questions, you may have a hard time finding your answer. So how to and step-by-step things may be what you're looking for. If you, as you're starting, right, and you don't really have much of an idea, and you're like, I look, they all have buyer intent. I believe there are probably niches where that does exist. But most of the time, there's a way to find out what people are searching for. Now, that said, you could be in a spot where there's no informational keywords. You say there's only 1%, and you've looked at it more than me. You're more of an expert in the area than I am. I suspect you should be able to go out into the community and figure out what people are asking questions about. So you didn't give me the niche, which is okay. People want to sort of protect whatever their niche is. And I'm just gonna make up an example because we were looking recently at like saunas and stuff like that, which it seems like maybe they're fairly straightforward and it's product focused. So let me share my screen here. So we're looking at like infrared saunas, right? Infrared saunas. And I was curious because I've only used like a traditional kind of sauna, but I just put in infrared sauna, which gets like 90,500 searches per month. So pretty competitive. And, there's some information here right off the bat. Again, I'm just starting to randomly look. I don't do this ahead of time. So we're just going to see what falls out. So, right off the bat, we see like 9 reasons saunas are good. Do they have health benefits? I used an infrared sauna for 30 days. Here's what happened, right? So people aren't necessarily searching for like the, sauna usage. This seems more sort of topical, like maybe you run across it for some other reason, but people are looking for health benefits, right off the bat. And as we scroll down, we see things to know. So negative side effects of infrared sauna, dangers, costs, benefits, and types. So as we're going through here, we started at a product focused basis, and we'll need to dive in and look for some other informational areas. So as we scroll down, we're just going to have to start diving in here. So one thing you can do, one of the best things you can do, and this is sort of a free way to do keyword research, you just use the auto suggest. So infrared sauna, we have benefits, a lot of things related to sales. So we have at home, for sale, different places to buy. So this is very highly buying focused, but let's dive in and look at benefits, right? So we'll start here and we'll skip the ads. We'll go to, it looks like the Cleveland Clinic has some information. So they go through, there's some good information. We may get some extra ideas. That's why I actually am looking at this article. So we have soothing sore muscles, improve heart health. We have different areas. So we actually could go a little deeper into each one of these. So one quick example. So infrared sauna. So does infrared sauna help sleep? So we dove in because we looked at that specific post, and then I just picked one at random. But one thing you notice, does infrared sauna help you? And now we have several different ideas: lose weight, skin, sleep, detox, poop, even. It's auto suggest. Does it help you tan? And does it make you sweat? So there's all these questions related to it. So this is a good starting point. One thing that I was curious with is this infrared sauna versus a regular sauna. So now you can think about it this way. So I was asking specific questions based on an article that mentioned the benefits of a sauna. So I just picked one, and we used auto suggest to do this. Here we're using a versus component. So infrared sauna versus a regular sauna. Let's, just for curiosity, I wonder if we could versus another thing. So we have infrared sauna versus steam, dry sauna, a hot tub, red light therapy, infrared blanket, and versus exercise as well. So here are several more ideas, and I'm using a plugin here called Keywords Everywhere, which is great. It is an extension for your browser that will overlay the search volume and actually the trend line as well, so you can get an idea of the search volume. Of course, search volumes are just estimates, but it can give you an idea relatively that infrared sauna versus steam gets roughly 3 times the searches as infrared sauna versus red light therapy. So in a relative sense, it can give you an idea hey, people search for this more, people search for this less. So, and Chris brings up the best question. Can ferrets eat burritos in the sauna? So it's very, very long tail. People probably don't search for it. And there's a strong chance, Chris, if you write that article, it'll be ranking before we finish the end of this live session. So no one's writing for it or searching for it. And if you do a YouTube video, I would watch it. I would definitely watch a ferret in a sauna trying to eat a burrito. So, but you know what? Only if the ferret wants to get in there, because that seems like it could be dangerous for them. Okay, so we have the sort of does infrared sauna do X? And now we have infrared sauna versus something. And these are informational based, even though it's a versus. If it was a product A versus product B, that would be product focus. But this is informational focused. And this was just something that I was interested in, like in the last couple of days. Didn't do any pre-research. I didn't look this up or anything like that to see what might pop up. And of course, there are, jumping off points that you can get into, but this is a pretty easy way to do free keyword research where you're probably going to find some good long tail keywords. So let's check out the regular sauna. So this gets, 210 searches per month. It's generally, kind of product focused, but at the same time, it is really, informational because I'm just trying to figure out what the difference is. So one thing you could do is scroll down to some of the sort of, featured areas. So we have some videos here where you can potentially get some other ideas. These pretty much go, straight to the comparison. There are some images here. So it looks like, just looking at the thumbnails, that these are just comparative as well. I'm actually just going to scroll all the way to the bottom and see if there's any related searches down here that seem interesting. So we have a radiant versus infrared sauna. Then we have, the pure product focus. So best infrared sauna is the pure product focus version of that. Infrared sauna dangers. So here's another angle, right? So we looked at the benefits before, but now we're going to look at some of the dangers. So we'll scroll down here and just kind of have a quick look like we did before. They do mention the negative symptoms and side effects. So heat discomfort, mild to moderate heat discomfort. It's a sauna, of course. It's supposed to be hot. Anybody else get into saunas? I love them. My gym currently doesn't have one, but since I was probably maybe like 12 or 13, like I would get into the sauna at the YMCA that I used to go to, and then the gym that I went to in Bozeman, it had a sauna. It was it wasn't always super hot, but I got in there like pretty much every time I went to the gym. And it's hot. They are hot. It's hot in there. Low blood pressure, lightheadedness, transient leg pain, and airway irritation. So there are a couple things to look at. They do tell you when to, avoid infrared saunas. So it lowers your blood pressure. So I guess if you have low blood pressure anyway, maybe that's bad. So we'll just put in blood pressure. So actually we just put in blood, and then we have lower blood pressure, blood sugar, raised blood pressure, reduced. So these are all informational. These are kind of in your money or your life sort of area since they are health related. But, these give you a good idea. So I hope, just going through this, I tried to share a different one. So I tried to, give you some ideas on what you can look at. And DP says it's a home appliance. So, some may say, an infrared sauna or a sauna is a home appliance as well. So I would look at, different ways that you can compare the product and talk about the benefits and the potential downsides. And those can maybe give you an idea for informational keywords. The other big area is probably just how to use the product or ways that you can use the product. So if it's kind of a single task oriented home appliance, I'm just going to make something up that is probably not it. Let's say it's a furnace. There's one sitting next to me over there in the basement here. So the furnace pretty much just heats up your house. It doesn't do much else. You potentially can, run through the same kind of exercise, like a furnace versus space heaters, a furnace versus a fireplace. there may not be as many for a furnace, but you kind of get the idea. I kind of chose something that is probably not what you're working on. The other would be like how to deal with certain positive or negative aspects of the device. So for a furnace, you may look at the the humidity issues that you might run into. So if you're running your heat a lot in the winter, your air is going to be really dry. And for someone like me with these guitars behind me, the very dry air is not good for the guitar. So I either have to figure out a solution that keeps it more humid where the guitars are, or I have to put them in their case whenever I'm not playing them. And I want to have them out, If they're out, I'm going to play them more often, and they're fun to look at. I don't, just stare at them or anything, but, they're pretty nice. They make up part of the set here. And the point is, for a given product, you can look at pros and cons and how to control the pros and cons, for example. So you may have to get outside. Another place to look would be forums or like Facebook groups of the niche. And then you could go and just see what questions people ask. And then those are informational based, and you could just cover those. So you kind of have to go out and just, go do research and kind of figure it out. Okay. So a lot of questions came through, and quick request, if you have the ability, I know a lot of people are watching on their phone, so it may not be easy. If you have the ability to hit the thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. It looks like we have about 14 of them right now. So let's try to hit the thumbs up. It helps people find the video, and it feeds my ego, of course. So let's hit some of these questions here. And if I answer your question, that's a good reason to go ahead and hit the thumbs up. All right. I keep hitting my face on the microphone here. All right. So Sonia says, do you have any tips on building links safely? I do. Yeah. So one of the major tips is to make sure it's a link that not everyone can get. So if you go out there and you try to find all the websites that have, right for me, or we allow guest posts or something like that, you're often going to end up with a link on a site where everyone can get a link, and that sort of drives the quality down. And there's a good likelihood that that link is probably not going to help you at all. The other part is to not get in a hurry. I think the more patient you are with link building, and the more you focus on actually building relationships with people in your niche and being part of the community, that's when you can get really good links. And you don't have to just reach out to people that have a website and a blog where you can directly get a link. Those are the most obvious ones, right? But if you can connect with people that have a social media presence, maybe they're YouTubers, maybe they're on TikTok or Instagram. If you connect with those folks, they know other people that are their peers on whatever platform, but they probably also know some of the people that have blogs also. So if you take a really patient approach and you're doing this for the long term, then you can probably, most likely, build those relationships, and it won't pan out early on, but in the future, you'll have opportunities because you've connected with people in the community. And those usually pay off much more. And it might not be for a year or 3 years or whatever, but maybe that ends up being a much more powerful link in the long run. And if you don't think about it as like link building and think about it as networking and being part of the community, then you're probably going to end up with like much better links. And it'll be way safer. And your question was how to build links safely. So it's slower, but it's very safe. Elna says, my site got hit but bounced back the last week of September. My content pushed by job sites. My content was pushed by job sites in a competitive niche. Okay, cool. Yeah, I heard, that last week, Elna, a lot of sites picked back up. They got hit in the past. Laughing Hyena says, should I do Google AdSense or Ezoic? Which should I go for first? I would do Ezoic. There's no reason not to start off with Ezoic. And most likely, everyone's results are going to vary, but most likely you will probably earn more money on Ezoic. Jay says, my only one post rank, another not. Okay. Matt says, what's the best way to build topical clusters in low traffic niches? I don't think, as far as I know, it shouldn't really matter that it's a low traffic niche. You would build your topical clusters in the same way. So in a general sense, you would have probably a larger volume keyword. And then you would have many lower volume keywords related to the bigger keyword. And you probably can, rank the lower search volume keywords faster. They won't get as much traffic, but you'll rank them faster. You'll build that topical relevancy. And then typically you link all of the smaller keywords up to the main keyword there that you're trying to rank that's more competitive. And that's the general idea with the topical clusters. Some similar ideas with silos and stuff like that. But topical clusters roughly, there's some other minutia on whether or not you link the smaller search volume posts and stuff like that. But generally you do it that way. And as far as I know, there's no reason to do it differently in a low traffic niche. It's the same thing. Okay, so any other questions on informational keywords and such? Dan says this: do you know or think Google is viewing listicle content as review content? I don't know. I have no way of knowing. If you answered yes, how would they view a listicle, Crafts for Kids, as a review piece? I don't know if they view listicle content as review content. I suspect it really depends on what you're covering. Crafts for Kids, I wouldn't necessarily see that as a product review type article. You could, of course, have 10 things that are literally products that you literally link affiliate links to where you could buy them. And that'd be pretty product focused, but the search intent isn't necessarily that. You could have Crafts for Kids that are all like DIY free crafts for kids, right? So you could definitely frame it in a different way. And the thing is, people ask, like you, Dan, do you know what Google does? I have no idea what Google does. Google doesn't tell us really hardly anything. And I don't have a direct contact there. If I did, I'm pretty sure they're not supposed to tell me anything. But I would, one thing, right? So this is one of those questions where it's like, all right, it's pretty deep in the SEO topic. Like, what do I think Google is viewing this kind of content like? At that point, I would say, you know what? Don't worry about it too much. Like, think about the search intent. Who's searching for it? What do they really want to find here? And if you could figure out what their problem is and how you can help them solve it, aim for that. You can make really weird decisions. Obviously, you're having some issues with what your traffic is doing and probably rankings. So you'll have to make a decision on what kind of content you want to cover and how you want to cover it. But if you really understand what the searcher is looking for in your audience, I would lean into that. Conceivably, right? Google all the shit that they tell us, right? Conceivably, Google is trying to help the searcher solve their problem and find what information they're looking for. So if you can decipher what's going on and actually provide that, again, in theory, you should be okay. It might not be in the, short term dealing with the updates, but it's like if you're providing the right content, it's probably going to work out. Probably. Jill, what's going on? Good to see you on here. Chris is a fan of saunas. My grandpa is Finnish and built his own in the backyard. That's cool. Like there was a stretch when I lived in Montana where I was doing a bunch of research on like homemade saunas, DIY saunas, and there were a couple where they just build like a really small like barrel structure. They'd have like a wood burning stove in there and just have the chimney going out. The wood burning stoves, man, they give off so much heat. So they would just have like a very small wood burning stove. They'd get a fire going in there. It would heat up pretty fast and it would be just crazy hot in there. Looked amazing, seemed pretty fun. Never did it. I don't think the HOA is going to be on board with that. But these, the smaller saunas, or just a normal home sauna, like I could put one. I mean, you can't see exactly, but I mean, I could put one like right over there and just plug it in. It'll take a little while to heat up. I would use it every day. It'd be awesome. All right, Daniel says there should be a lot of info posts for home appliances, how to fix X and how to do X and things like that. Perfect, Daniel. Yeah, great suggestions. All right. Sonia says, is there a way we can check what keywords we lost during Google updates? Yeah, there's several ways. So you probably should be tracking your keywords somewhere. So there are keyword trackers. I use one called SERP Robot, and I think it's fairly inexpensive, but there are a ton of them out there. You can also go to the Search Console and just look for a specific period of time and then look at your position, and you could sort and filter and decipher, some information from that. It's cool because it's free and it's in Search Console. So that's maybe the first place you should have a look. It won't be perfect, but it can give you an idea on the trend. And if you can look at it in aggregate, and then you could dive into specific posts, specific keywords, and kind of see where that tracks along. You could even look at specific keywords for specific posts, right? You can put those together as part of the filtering mechanism, or you could just look at one or the other. You can also go to Ahrefs and look at what keywords you ranked for, and they'll have like some historical data in there, most likely. Sanzar says, what do I think about the healthcare? Hold on. What do you think about healthcare IT as a niche? EHREMR. I don't know what either of those acronyms are, but generally, I would say that's pretty narrow. And if you're an expert in the area, it's probably a very good and profitable niche. If you are not, if you don't know much about healthcare IT, then it is probably a terrible idea. But if you're in the industry, I suspect, Sanzar, that you are, then maybe it's a really good one. I would be very aware of your monetization strategy at the very beginning. So for something like that, where you're potentially dealing with your money or your life, and you would need some good trust and authority to go along with it, I think you should have a very clear picture on how you're going to monetize it in the beginning, or you may end up working very hard and realize there's not a very good way to monetize that. There's obviously a lot of software, a lot of other sort of consulting and services that are potentially really profitable in that, but I don't know any of the components, and those are It's definitely like a higher end B2B type industry versus B2C. All right. Body Language Matters says, what about lifestyle niche? Sure. Yeah, there's tons of different lifestyle approaches you could take, and those would probably be just fine. All right, I'm going to take a small break and roll this ad from Otis, one of our fine sponsors out there, and I'll be right back. Just going to let my voice rest. And if you have any questions on informational content, please let me know, or informational keywords. So you can ask in the chat, and I'll be right back. Quick word from Otis Global. They're the source for premium age domains with strong branding and powerful backlinks. We're going to be taking a look at this domain today, modernround.com. It is about 8 years old. In 2014 is when they first established this domain. Domain rating of 25, domain authority of 38. And this was basically a shooting lounge like firearms with advanced technology and shooting simulation, originally created for military and police training. So kind of cool, kind of unique, definitely sort of niche-y, very deep in the niche. And, some people may not be their cup of tea, but some people are into, shooting and stuff like that. And I would say there's a lot that you could do with this specific domain. You could create a directory of indoor, outdoor shooting ranges and even virtual shooting ranges for every state and municipality. There are plenty of people that are into this sort of topic area. So you potentially can get those folks to write it for you, and they would be sort of experts, hopefully, so they could provide the best information, and it'd be interesting for them anyway. And one other cool thing, you actually could publish the laws for each state and municipality out there. Cities and stuff have different rules for firearms, and there is just a lot of information that you could cover that would be really helpful to the community. There are 100 and I think 27 referring domains. 48 of them are do follow from big places like vice.com, OpenTable, Fox News, eater.com, Phoenix News Times, Dallas Observer. So tons of them out there. And like all of the domains over on Otis Global, they have this cool logo that looks like a little bullseye. So modernround.com is out there and available. You can check it out. And if you join using my affiliate link, you can get $100 in your account. If you make a purchase, then I might get a commission, which is greatly appreciated. So thanks a lot to Otis Global. And yeah, please check it out. Follow the link in the description. All right. And we are back. So quick note. We have my course, multi-profit site, open for enrollment, and you can check it out. There's a link in the description there. A couple bonuses available this week. And enrollment is just open until October 14th. That's Friday at the end of the day here in the US. So have a look if you are interested. And actually, I saw a few people had questions in some of my other videos out there that were like, hey, what course is out there? So yeah, it's multi-profit site, and it teaches you how to build a site from scratch, and it's open right now. So go have a look if you are interested. I can do more keyword research demoing if people have questions. It doesn't look like too many people do have questions on it, which is interesting, but it's different. People have other problems certain days, or other questions certain days. But I would say one cool thing that you, like I mentioned earlier, is if you can find sort of a good formula or format for a specific kind of keyword, you can just do more and more of it. So we could even talk about buyer's keywords or product related keywords, which is a little different, but it has a similar sort of format. And, one great way to find those kind of keywords, it's best, and then the product type, and then for, FOR, either a specific usage or a specific type of user. And if you have a handful of products and a handful of different applications, and then a handful of different kinds of users, then you can mix and match them together and end up with several dozen keywords. And it's fairly straightforward. A quick example, like hiking boots or whatever. So it could be like best hiking boots for women, for men, for children, for teens, people with flat feet, people with high arches, people with bad ankles, people with, um, you know, well, I ran out, but that was just off the top of the head. So that's a specific kind of user, but then it could be hiking boots for camping, for backpacking, for through hiking, for climbing mountains, for, walking on gravel, for walking on mud, and so on. And again, just right off the top of my head, we came up with, probably like 16, 18 different keyword phrases. And once you start looking, right, as soon as you hop over to Google and start using auto suggest and put in one or two of those, you're going to end up probably finding, 10 more or so fairly easily. And that's just about hiking boots. So at some point, like, you realize there's more keywords than I have the time to write. There's more keywords than I have the resources to pay writers to do it. And, you can kind of do your keyword research on an as needed basis. Whenever you're ready to write more, you can just find, 10 or 15 more keywords and then get them out to your writing team or put them on your list so you can write them yourself. Elna says, when searching for keywords in Ahrefs, would you do a post on 0 to 10 searches? Yes. It depends on, what you're trying to do exactly, but there are many, many people that tell me they found a search phrase that said it gets 0 searches per month. And it turns out that they get the highest amount of traffic on that page where they thought it was kind of a throwaway keyword. They thought, maybe I'll rank for it. It says 0, but I don't really know, but I'll publish it and see what happens. After a few months, that term is ranking really well for maybe some like related keywords or other long tails that are very similar. And the specific keyword phrase that they found was not something that got any searches, but it was part of kind of a set of keywords that does get a lot of searches, but they just phrased it a little bit differently. So the answer is yes, I would go for 0 to 10 searches per month. That is totally fine. And as your site matures, you may, go beyond that point where you're like, okay, I'm going after bigger keywords, and you probably should do that. And you always publish kind of a variety of keywords where some of them are low searches and some of them are higher searches. And that gives you kind of the flexibility and leeway to like get a lot more traffic. The other thing is you can use those very low search volume keyword phrases as part of your, topical cluster. Like, who asked that earlier? Topical cluster, where's it at? Where's it at here? Oh, I have a search mechanism. Oh yeah, Matt404 asked about the topical clusters. So you could use the very low search volume keywords to be part of your topical cluster that will help build topical relevancy in that area and potentially help you rank stuff with more competition, higher search volumes, all that kind of stuff. Sonia says, I can't outrank some competitors. They're low on DA, but I think they've established topical authority. How do we show Google that we're authoritative for that topic? Publish more content on it and make it high quality. And Sonia, I can't remember, how old is your site? So I think a lot of times people are just in such a hurry that they feel like they're behind. They feel like they can't outrank competitors. But let's say your competitors have been doing this for a little bit longer, even though they have a low DA, you may just need to put in more time. People are in such a hurry that they kind of just, they want to run past everything. And sometimes you have to put in the time. Buddha says, does it's keyword golden ratio. A lot of people fuck up the order, but it's keyword golden ratio. Does it still work? And the answer is yes, it does still work. Yeah, keyword golden ratio, KGR. All right, we are starting to wrap up here. I've been recording a ton this week, and I am very hungry. I'm very hungry right now. So I recorded like a couple things before I started this, and I have an update with Ariel that I think that episode will be coming out next week. But yeah, I've been recording a ton, and I hope I can scarf down some food before I chat with her. Sonia says the site is 1.5 years old. So you have been at it for a while, and you mentioned that your competition are 2 to 3 years in. So, that is not necessarily the difference here. The age of the site can make a difference. The age of the post can make a difference. But I mean, the thing is, like, if they potentially have, more content that's ranking, or if they have more topical relevancy and that sort of thing, it's something that can make a very big difference. That said, you're asking, how can you build topical relevancy? Publish more content on that topic. Go for the very low, like Elna was asking, should we go after zero search volume terms? Sure, do it. That will help build topical relevancy. And potentially, if no one else is covering that topic, maybe it's the ferrets eating burritos in a sauna, in an infrared sauna, then, I mean, it would keep the food hot, number one. But anyway, the point here is you can publish content that no one else is, because it's so niche specific there. And thanks, Daniel, for pumping up the KGR. All right. Sanzar says, how am I doing? I'm working on 2 websites since the 29th of August. You've written 23 posts on one and 12 on another. 23 posts has 150 impressions with 33 visitors, and the other has 400 with 27. Yeah, sounds like you're doing a lot of work. I would say, I would probably just put your focus on just one of the sites for, a few months. And then if you have to switch focus, I'm definitely a proponent of focusing and not spreading yourself too thin. The thing is, you can make twice as much. Actually, if you only worked on the one site, you would get more than twice as much done, because there's overhead, switching sites. Your brain can only process so many things, and you would make more than twice as much progress if you just worked on the one site. People will disagree. Some people are like, I can multitask and blah, blah, blah. But you're a special unicorn if you can. Okay. Elna says, Sonia, I would also get other websites to say your title, so that Google looks at you as the go-to organization or social media person or whatever. Yep. So that is around like branded anchor text, and that would be very good. Branded anchor text to your homepage is a good thing overall. Daniel gives a shout out to Melissa's interview. Yeah, it's actually blowing up. So she has a core Web Vitals course out there. And yeah, definitely check out that interview. It does seem to be doing extremely well. I mean, it was a great interview, but it's doing even better than her first one. So Melissa's doing awesome. Chris says, what is the highlight of your weekend? Mine was a challenging 7-mile hike and seeing the fall leaves in Minnesota. Cool. Good question. Let's see here. we did some work around the house. We were out of town last weekend, or a couple weekends ago, so we are kind of like laying low. And I'm trying to remember, on Saturday, did some chores around the house, so not a big highlight there. And then on Sunday, oh yeah, we rode our bikes, but before we left, it was a beautiful day here in Colorado. The leaves are starting to change colors, but not as much at 5,000 feet as where you're at. Anyway, we got our couple Yetis, filled them with some beer from the kegerator, and then we rode our bikes on the greenway, and we could see the Front Range and the mountains, and beautiful weather, kind of perfect temperature. So we rode out about 4 miles, drank a little beer. Some of our friends rode by, which was just random. So we chatted with them for a bit, and then we came on back. So yeah, pretty good weekend overall. And there was a lot of just kind of resting because we were in Montana the previous week and partied a lot. So I've been not drinking as much. That was like one of the few beers I've had in the last week. So yeah, and it sounds like your hike was awesome. And I'm going to try to actually get into the mountains this coming weekend. Probably just drive around a little bit. The leaves are changing a lot in the higher elevations, and then it kind of works its way down. Of course, cooler up in the mountains. And Chris also says the heat from the sauna aids the burrito's digestion by the ferret. Yep, getting deep here. And actually, it'd be hilarious if someone did write something about saunas, burritos, and ferrets. And actually, maybe I'll try, because next week I'm like, I ranked number 1 in less than a week, but it was like just for a bullshit term that no one's searching for. It's the only thing on the internet. Actually, that's kind of funny. I may do that. All right. Elna also says, I get no follow links all the time. My DA is high. That is why. But I do have good ones from high DA sites like Shopify. And I know it's good to have no follow links in the backlink profile. Cool. Andrew asks, thoughts on selling backlinks on a niche sites. I've had companies reaching out, not sure the best way to go about pricing and if it's a good thing to do in the long run. Okay, this will be a last question here. So number 1, Andrew, it is not a good idea in the long run, especially what normally happens. So I have people email me all the time, and these are the link building companies out there. And if you ask them what their budget is, or if you say, hey, I charge whatever, $200 or something like that, they're going to come back and they're going to say, oh, we can do like $15, which is just a bananas negotiating strategy. And then, maybe if you go back and forth, they're like, we can give you 25. And the funny thing is they're charging like whatever, like $200, $500 for these links. And then they're giving you like $20. And the reason why is, they have to get the content written. They have to pay the outreach person that's emailing you. They have to, support the sales and a couple other pieces. And there's some overhead, and then they have to make money too. So they're like doing some sort of, I would say, this ballpark, I would guess, somewhere between like 6 and like 15x, whatever they're willing to pay you. That is what they're charging for it. So go browse around on some of the link building and guest posting companies, look at the prices, and then know that they're paying like $20 for those links. In the long run, Andrew, what you'll have is a site that has a lot of shitty content with links going to shitty websites. In the long run, it's not going to pay off for you very well. If you're able to charge a lot, I have a friend who he's built a ton of links to his site. So now companies really want to get on his site, and he'll charge them like quarterly to have links on his site. So that way, he's earning money. It's not a one-time fee. It's just like it's recurring revenue for him, and it's fairly expensive. And he makes good money at it. And he also has a really high quality standard. So if it doesn't meet his standard, then he doesn't do it. So I would stay away from it. No, I would stay away from it. It's probably not going to work out in the long run. And again, the worst part of it is if you actually like ask how much they're willing to pay, it is staggeringly low and kind of offensive. I think I replied back to, or I reply back to these fairly often just to see what people will say. And the terrible thing is I'm like, yeah, $500. And then they come back with, I can give you 10. And I'm like, you're not even in the right ballpark. It's silly that you're even emailing back. Cause obviously if I say 500 and you say 10, we can't even meet in the middle, right? It's too much of a low ball. So, okay. And yep, Chris, it was, yeah, good fall weather. Sanzar says that I just need to know if I'm on the right path or if it's too early to tell. It's basically too early to tell, but I would say the fact that you're getting any clicks and visits, that you're actually ahead of the curve. Most people, a lot of people don't end up with many clicks in the first couple months, and you're seems to be about 6 weeks in. So I would say you're on a very good track. Don't sweat the analytics too much. Don't sweat the analytics too much because then you'll get in your head. All right. And Andrew says, so if the price is right and the content is legit and helpful, it seems like it's okay. Definitely going to be deliberate with what gets through. And Andrew, I encourage you, I don't know what episode it's in, but I've been working with Christy, who's a student in my course. She has been making over 10K a month here for the last few months. She has a guest posting system that she uses, and she gives the guest poster the keyword that she wants, and she has high quality. She basically treats the guest poster as one of her writers. So she's like, yeah, you can write here. Here's the deal. You can get, this link, or you can get like 2 links. Check out what she mentions in her interviews. And this is Christy, by the way. So she'll say, hey, you can get a link in the bio, and you can get a link, one other in the text. It needs to be X word count. It needs to be this quality. You need to provide images, and here's the keyword to write it on. And if they goof up or whatever, and it's lower quality or something, she just says, it's not going to work for me. So I would approach it like that. And what she's been able to do is like basically get content written for free. And if it's a legit company, then they should be able to do it. If it's, someone you're going to be able to work with, they're going to be able to, provide good content. You shouldn't have to go and say, hey, can you re-edit it or whatever? Maybe you give them one chance, but if they fuck it up, then it's a low quality provider there. So I would tread very lightly, and I would say probably 90% of the people that are contacting you are not going to be able to deliver high quality to you. It could be, could be a little different, but generally I would say most of them are very, very bad. All right. With that said, check out the links in the description. Thanks to Ezoic. Thanks to Otis, especially. If you're interested in building your own site or want to check out the course, multi-profit site is open for enrollment. You can get a link in the description. I do these each week. I think there probably is a link in the description so you can sign up for notifications, which I often send out, but not always. I missed it today, but I just didn't get a chance to schedule the email. But you could subscribe to the channel, and if you have requests or anything, you could shoot me an email, feedback@Doug.Show, and I get those emails directly. All right, thanks a lot. We'll catch you tomorrow at the Niche Lifestyle Show. I think over on the Niche Website Builders channel. So you can search that out. We'll be on 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, Mountain Time.